Hi, my name's Ron, and I watch 4 hours worth of Quibi content, so you don't have to. Oh, I don't have an intro. So I've discovered that most people don't know what Quibi is, considering that we've been quarantined for the last month and a half, and Quibi is offering 90 days free to anybody who wants to download the app and try the free trial. So since most people don't know or even seem to be aware of Quibi's existence and what it has to offer, I decided to download the app and see what the service has to offer show-wise, and I've decided to break this down into two different segments. Segment 1 will be the app, the background, and what it has to offer. Segment 2 will be the shows and the content that Quibi spent $1.75 billion into bringing into the mainstream. So the people behind Quibi, looking at you, Jeffrey Katzenberg, decided to dump $1.75 billion into creating a new streaming service, which you would think would be very popular during quarantine, considering we're all sitting here watching Tiger King on Netflix and whatever Hulu has to offer, which I don't think is very good in the first place. But they decided to launch this service, whether through happenstance that it was planned this way, or they did it on purpose to get people pushed towards their app, considering that's all we're doing. And Quibi is currently offering their content for 90 days free. After that, after the 90-day free period, it's $5 with ads or $8 without ads. And I find it interesting that not a single person that I know or have spoken to about this knows what Quibi is, and most of them have never heard about it. The only advertisements I've seen for Quibi, I think, have been on Snapchat, and I may have seen one or two videos on YouTube. Especially when this app has two great things going for it. Thing one is that all the episodes are 10 minutes or less. For every show, every episode, 10 minutes or less. I think one of the episodes I watched was 11 minutes, but everything else is meant to be consumed in quick bites, hence Quibi. The other thing the app has going for it is that it can only be viewed on your phone. Through only being able to be viewed on your phone, you can watch the shows in landscape or vertical mode. And I find this interesting because it's a great advancement in streaming technology, but who the hell is watching their phone vertically? The only time I ever watch something vertically on my phone is because Instagram, when I watch a movie trailer or something like that, refuses to let me watch the video in landscape, or else it has a fucking stroke and it shuts the app down. Or two, I'm on YouTube and I'm looking for other videos or scrolling through my feed to see what other creators have posted that day. It's the only time myself ever watches anything in vertical mode. Other people might be different, but I'm not going to sit down and watch a movie on Netflix or watch a 20-minute YouTube video vertically. It's always landscape. So the fact that these shows have been filmed in a format that allows it to be viewed vertically or in landscape is interesting, to say the least. And the technology works surprisingly well. The transition from landscape to vertical is seamless. It really is. Sometimes YouTube, the app, has a stroke when I try to change from landscape to vertical or vertical to landscape. It doesn't want to work. I have to close the app. I have to restart the app, restart the video. And it still sometimes does not recognize that I want the phone in landscape. With Quibi, I found myself only in one show doing it multiple times, just going back and forth, because it really is seamless. The show doesn't buffer, and it just goes from one to the other, and it's fun, but after a while, it gets a little annoying, because most of these shows, who's going to want to watch the cropped screen and just see half of Christoph Waltz's body instead of seeing the full frame the way that it was intended? And that's kind of what's killer about this app. That's what really hurts it. To my knowledge, I thought I saw that they were going to put out an update where you can now cast it onto your TV and watch through your Chromecast or through a smart TV. But to my knowledge, when I downloaded the app yesterday, it doesn't have that ability. So they force you into watching these shows on your phone. And when you're on the move, if you're in your car, if you're commuting to work on the bus or on the train, that's great. But if you're sitting at home and you want to binge an entire show, you can only watch it on your phone. And multiple times throughout the 4 hours I was watching this content, I found myself wishing that I could just throw this on my laptop instead of having to look at the small screen on my phone. The app is very easy on your phone battery as well. I went through about 40% of my phone battery watching the 4 shows or the 4 hours of shows that I watched, and I was surprised when I checked my battery percentage in the last show that I was watching to see it was only at 50%, considering YouTube and Netflix destroy your phone battery watching 1/2 hour show. Another thing that really hurts the shows themselves is that 10-minute parameter of only being 10 minutes or less. A lot of these shows, or at least one of them that I watched, really would have benefited from being in a 30-minute format, as if they were written for a network or a Netflix. And it just feels like they've been broken up. A lot of the breakoffs for episodes for the ending and start feels disjointed, and it feels like they weren't supposed to naturally end that way. Some of them end naturally, and it works really well for the show, and it's interesting to see it in that 10-minute format. But some of these shows really, I think, are hurt by being 10 minutes or less. But let's get into the meat of what Quibi has to offer. I went over the app, I went over some of the background. Let's get into what the app has to offer show-wise. I chose 10 shows at random, and of ones that I've heard of before through advertisements or that I've seen through advertising. And I tried to get a wide range of what Quibi has to offer instead of just focusing on a niche. I tried to watch a little bit of everything that they have. So I've broken these shows into 3 different tiers. Tier 1 is going to be something that I watch as soon as I'm done with this video, something that I will finish and watch the rest of, and if there's a season 2, I would consider it. Tier 2 is something that I might return to based off what I saw and general interest in the premise and what they could do with it. And Tier 3 is going to be something that I'll never think about or watch again. So I watched the first 3 episodes of each of these 10 shows, and I will say before each episode there is a 5 to 15 second ad, which with YouTube it feels stupid, the amount of ads that they throw at you. Quibi, it's got the 5 to 15 seconds, and I don't feel annoyed watching those ads. I don't know if it's because I don't think I saw the same ad twice, where with YouTube you get the same ad over and over and over again. But Quibi has a wide range of ads that didn't piss me off. So the first show that I watched was Chrissys Court with Chrissy Teigen. And the show feels like Chrissy Teigen went to somebody at E! Or Bravo saying she wanted to get a reality show with her family, to focus on her family and do crazy kooky things with her family. And Katzenberg just came back with this and was like, hey, we'll plop you down in front of a judge's bench and you can rule on these stupid cases that no other judge would really take unless it's going to small claims in your actual town. I mean, they force her mother in there. John Legend shows up. Her kids are there, and she's got a painting of her dog on the back door. And it all feels staged. It feels stupid. It feels like the audience are forcing laughter to these half-assed jokes that Chrissy Teigen and John Legend do. And it's a bear to get through. It really is. All the episodes are 6 minutes or less, and I really had to work to get through them. For me, there's no entertainment value. I don't have a fetish for celebrities and their lives. So to see something like this, and that'll come up in another show that I watched later on, but it just didn't, for me, it didn't hit home. I found the editing weird. I thought the show just looked fake and stupid. And it's the only show where I watch an entire episode vertically. It's the only one. Everything else I watch horizontally. I think I flipped it once or twice in one of the other shows, but I did try to watch an entire show vertically for this. And the framing just looks a little bit off. It doesn't have enough headspace for Chrissy Teigen sometimes when she's behind the bench. It'll cut to audience members laughing for half a second, and then it cuts back to Chrissy Teigen. And it feels like a show where they didn't know what to do with it, and they tried to do their best through editing. And it's going to be the first show that finds itself in tier 3 because it doesn't appeal to me. I don't like celebrities. I don't know what Chrissy Teigen's known for. And to put a celebrity behind a bench and let her do court cases, it just feels like a half-assed SNL sketch that nobody's going to remember or really enjoy. The second show that I watched was Survive with Sophie Turner and Corey Hawkins, where Sophie Turner is a suicidal young adult who's coming home from this rehabilitation house, and she's on the plane, going to kill herself, and then the plane goes down. This is the one show that I think is hurt by not being in a half-hour format. The first episode is all voiceover and it's all exposition just to set up Sophie Turner's character. I didn't like the first episode, but the second and the third episode really gripped me, and I felt genuinely invested into what the show has to offer. The first episode, it's rough. It's still decent to watch. It's not hard to watch. It's just the way that it's presented, I was not the biggest fan of. But episode 2 and 3 really picks up steam and gets good. Genuinely good. This is a good show. And the end of the third episode, the inciting incident, really hooks the audience in. And that's what I'm saying when I say it hurts from not being in a 30-minute format. Being in a 10-minute format in these 3 episodes, it still works. It just would have been helped more by being in that 30-minute format on something like Netflix. And I will say, for mental health, it is significantly better than 13 Reasons Why. I'm very interested to see where this show is going to go, and I'm going to put it in tier 1. The third thing that I watched was When the Streetlights Go On, and I loved this show. It's the only show I watched where when I was done with episode 3, I wanted to finish the entire season. It's a great show, and it's the one that is best helped by the 10-minute format. The endings for each episode feel natural and they go right into each other, and I cannot wait to see what happens the rest of the show. It's by far the best show on Quibi, in my opinion. It's the best thing that I watched. It has natural endpoints. It's the only one that feels like it was thought of, planned, and made for Quibi, for that 10-minute format. It's almost like somebody had a short series for YouTube that they were working on to be 10 minutes or less. They brought it to Quibi, it got picked up, and it works exceptionally well. And is the second show that I'm going to put in tier 1. The fourth show that I watch is one of 2 house flipping shows on Quibi. One is an actual house flipping show. The other, the one that I watched here, called Flipped, is a satire of house flipping shows. It stars Caitlin Olsen and Will Forte, 2 actors and actresses that I love everything that they do. I watched The Mick. I still watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with Caitlin Olsen. Fantastic. Everything Will Forte does, I loved The Last Man on Earth. Fantastic show. I'm still mad that it got canceled. Flipped is an absolute fart. This show, I think, is terrible. It's clearly made for a network to be 30 minutes because of the natural ending point of the inciting incident at episode 3. The main premise of the show does not start until the end of episode 3. And it feels so weird. The first episode is an absolute bear. The second episode is not funny. And the third episode, I can see where the show's going and it piques my interest based off the ending. But I don't care about the characters. I don't care about what they're doing. I don't care about the story. I don't care about anything that the show has to offer. And that hurts for me to say, considering I like Olsen and Forte. And the show doesn't really feel like it's committing to anything. It doesn't feel like I don't want to say it's a melodrama, but there's so little comedy in the show, I can't tell if it was supposed to be that. And it's not funny or committing to comedy completely. It just comes across as corny, awkward, and weird, for lack of a better term. It will be the first show that I put in tier 2. It would be in tier 3 based off the first 2 episodes and the first 90% of the third. But the ending of episode 2 piques my interest, or the ending of episode 3 piques my interest a little bit to the point where I would consider watching the show, but the motivation just is not there for me to finish out the show. The fifth thing that I watched is a horror anthology show called 50 States of Fright. Now, the first episode, I thought that the show would be 10-minute self-contained episodes per state. What you get, I think, based off the first 3 episodes, is one story spread over 3 episodes of one state. It's their folklore, it's tall tales, and I have to say, based off the first 3 episodes, if that's the case, I love it. I think it's great. Now, for me, horror I find very hit or miss, so I'm hesitant for the rest of the series, for the other 49 states, but if the first episode is anything that can show for the remainder of the series, I'm going to be bought in. I really am. I think the first episode is a little slow, but that's you kind of getting used to the format of the show. Like I said, I thought it was going to be 10 minutes self-contained of just a simple recreation, but the way that it's presented is almost as a a tertiary character that was there for the events of the story is recounting the story to a documentary crew. It's still cool. I love the first episode, and I really can't wait to see where the rest of the show goes. It isn't tier 1 for me, but it's a lower tier 1 based solely off the fact that horror is so hit or miss that I don't want to base the entire series off the one story that I saw. The sixth thing that I watched was the reboot of Punk'd, starring Chance the Rapper. And like I said earlier with Chrissy's Court, I don't have a fetish for celebrities for their lives. Punk'd never hit home with me when I was watching it when I was younger with Ashton Kutcher. I understood the premise. I could understand why people liked it. It just wasn't there for me. And the first 3 episodes of Punk'd, I don't think are a very good case to make for the show being good. Episode 2 with Liza Koshy is good. It's genuinely funny because I feel like it's actually putting the celebrity in an uncomfortable situation. Whereas the other 2, it's just Chance the Rapper fucking around with Meg Thee Stallion and Adam Devine. And I really have to question if Adam Devine drives a 2011 convertible Chevy Camaro. I mean, the guy's not the biggest star in the world, but he is making that money off Pitch Perfect. So he has to be driving a better car than that. Punk'd finds itself in tier 3. The next thing that I watched is The Most Dangerous Game with Liam Hemsworth and Christoph Waltz. This show is easily digestible in the 10-minute format. I think it used that 10-minute format good. I think it could easily be a 30-minute network or Netflix show. But on Quibi, it still works with natural ending points for each episode. Unfortunately, much like Flipped, the inciting incident doesn't happen until the end of episode 3. But for building tone and pacing, it works that way. I just wish it would have gotten started a little bit earlier, but as just a small taste, as a morsel, the show still works. Tier 1. The next thing I watched was a comedy called Dummy with Anna Kendrick. And while I wasn't the biggest fan of the first episode, what this show is trying to tell with the ending of episode 3, and it's kind of a look at the inner self and what it means to be a woman in Hollywood, I think the show does have something to offer. I think the first 2 episodes were a little bit rough trying to get used to the tone and the way that the show is in general. But the 3rd episode, I like where they're going with it. I didn't find it super funny, but I don't know if it's supposed to be super funny. It is funny. It does have funny moments. But as an introspective drama, I think it works well. And if you know me, you know I love Anna Kendrick. I love me some Anna. I think she's great. I think she's fantastic. I have a crush on her. Don't tell anybody. But I will be watching the end of the show. It's tough for me because I don't know if I put it in tier 1 or tier 2. It's like a tier 2.5 for me. Because, like I said, the first episode and a half I thought were pretty rough. But the premise of the show as a whole and what it has to say by the end of episode 3 does intrigue me and pull me in. I think that with any show, they will find their footing. You know, obviously you have to establish the characters and things like that. So after a while, I think the show will find its groove with the story that it is telling. I'm not sure what to expect from the rest of it based off the first 2 episodes. So tier 2.5. I know it's kind of cheating. Closer to tier 1 probably isn't tier 1 if I'm being honest, but it will not be the first thing that I return to when I'm done. I then watched the second house flipping show that Quibi has to offer, Murder House Flip. And I don't like house flipping shows. I understand why people would like it. I don't get it. I was never a big fan of HGTV and what they have to offer. I never liked Extreme Makeover, House Edition, whatever that guy's name was, the pre-Guy Fieri, before Guy Fieri. It's fine. I would much rather see a show that focuses on the murders that occurred in this house, because the first 3 episodes focus on one house, but the story of what happened in the house is a little old lady that killed 7 people, dismembered them in the bedroom that these people live in now that they sleep in, and then buried them in their yard. I would much rather see a show that goes in depth into those murders, aside from building an old lady a gazebo. It just didn't hit home for me. I didn't care. It's a fine show. It's so cookie cutter to every other house flipping show that it just kind of falls by the wayside and really doesn't offer anything in particular that's interesting besides the murder. And I'd rather see more about the murder than the house flipping. Tier 3. The last thing that I watched was a show called Dish Mantle with Titus Burgess. I was not expecting anything from this show. I expected to not like it. I like cooking shows, but from what I heard, it's a strange premise. It doesn't really work. But for me, I like strange premises for cooking shows. I loved Cutthroat Kitchen. I wish it was still on TV. That was such a great cooking show. It's obviously probably my favorite cooking show that I've ever seen, maybe besides Hell's Kitchen in its heyday. But Mantle has such an interesting premise to it that I'm pulled in. I've always found the editing for cooking shows to be weird because each dish clearly could be self-contained into one block before the commercial, but it always cuts with a commercial before they reveal who the winner is. And the 10-minute format, all being under 6 minutes, works exceptionally well for a cooking show. It really does. I was surprised at how much I liked this show. I don't think it's fantastic. It's not great, but Titus Burgess as the host is energetic and electric and really sparks something on screen that allows the audience viewer to really enjoy and find themselves almost like you're there with them. The competition itself, they load ground up food into a cannon, a ground up dish into a cannon, and then launch it at the contestants. And the contestants wearing blind goggles and a more or less hazmat suit have to pick the food off themselves to taste it or lick it off the ground or walls of the self-contained cell. And then they go and cook the dish based off of what they tasted, and whoever gets it closest wins. And that is such a bonkers premise for a cooking show that I loved it. I really did. I really expected to not like Dismantled. I found myself pleasantly giddy with the show. I really did. It finds itself in tier 2 only because it's not something I'm going to rush out to watch and finish, because I think after a while the premise might get a little bit old based off the 6-minute format. There's really not much there, but cooking shows are so over edited to push everything to its absolute limit that it gets bad anyways. So maybe the 6-minute format will still be good for me. Well, we'll see. Watching what Quibi has to offer was not nearly as painful as I thought it was going to be. I thought everything was going to be bad. I thought the ratio from going vertical to landscape was going to get annoying after a while. It did. I stopped doing it after Chrissys Court. I did it once in Most Dangerous Game just to see what it looked like in a bigger budget show like that. You could get rid of it and you wouldn't have a problem. You really wouldn't. It would be nice if YouTube would adopt that, just because, I don't know. It's interesting. If Twitter or Instagram were to pick that up, I would like it. For Quibi, it works, but it hinders the app and really makes it annoying that you can't cast it to your TV or onto your laptop, that you have to watch it on your phone. Now, there are some shows that are garbage on Quibi. I was very selective in what I decided to watch as a sample size for what Quibi has to offer. Looking at it and reading some reviews, there is some dog shit on this app. But Netflix is the same way, so you can't really knock them for that. They're making a wide range of content that is viewable for anybody to download this app. I just blame the marketing for not making people aware of what this app is and what it has to offer. 90 days free, I don't think is a very good business model. I think 90 days is way too long for anybody to really care about what you have to offer. For myself, I may cancel the service after my 90-day free trial if there's nothing else that I'm interested in, because I could watch what I want to right now for 90 days, finish it out, and then maybe download the app again with the App Store and put in a different email and get another account if there's another show that I want to watch, or when season 2 of these shows come out that I really enjoy. But to have your advertisements be filled with shows that I don't think are worth the advertising, looking at you, Chrissy's Court, considering that was the only show I think I've seen in advertising, there really should be more, especially in a time when we're all stuck inside on our phones and watching TV in general. I watch a lot of network TV. I still watch a lot of television on cable. I have not seen shit for Quibi. I've seen a ton for Prime, a ton for Hulu, a ton for Disney Plus, and a ton for Netflix. I have not seen a single thing for Quibi, to my memory, on cable networks. Not a single thing. And considering some of these shows are produced by CBS or Sony or other actually big companies that have shows on television right now, it's baffling that they don't have more advertising from that $1.75 billion budget wasn't funneled more into advertising to make people aware of what Quibi is. Nobody knows what Quibi is, and I don't want to say it's a detriment, but it really hurts Quibi, I think, in the long run by people not being aware of what it is. I just think the 90-day grace period is really going to hurt Quibi. I think that the app might go under. I hope it doesn't, because I don't know why. I like some of the content that's on here. I have to give credit to all the billionaires that are funding this, that are kind of building something from the ground up to compete with Netflix and Hulu. I think they'll lose. I think the shows will get canceled by Quibi once the app goes down, and then probably picked up. The good ones, at least, will get picked up by Netflix and Hulu and things like that, because there should be an audience for them. There should be people watching these shows. Unfortunately, Quibi's advertising just fumbled the ball. They really did. I think the $5 monthly charge really isn't that bad for what Quibi has to offer with the ads, considering hopefully they stay 5 to 15 seconds each for the ads. $8 a month really isn't that bad, but stacking it on top of everything else, if the quality of content does not pick up and get better, the shows are good, but the production value I still think are very low on some of them, especially Survive. If that doesn't pick up, I think Quibi's going to have a problem with bringing in new customers if they don't cast this net out to a wider audience to bring people in. And please, guys, make this streamable on TV and laptops. I think you would bring in a lot wider audience if you could just make this available on people's laptops. I understand not wanting to screenshot and things like that, even though that does create free advertisement through memes and people talking about the shows. But make it available on a laptop, please. Please. It was sitting there for 4 hours on my phone was nauseating at times. And I know it's intended to be only consumed in 10 minutes. But if you want to sit down and binge an entire show, who the hell is going to binge an entire show just on their phone? I will say, though, this is helpful. I do like the 10-minute format a lot. I think it can work. Because if you're sitting there on break at work, or you have a second while you're commuting to work on the bus or something like that, the 10 minutes really allows you to get there, get your content, and get out. With Netflix, you have to pause it half an hour in, you might have to restart the episode. 10 minutes, and you're done. It's quick to consume the content. And from that aspect, I love it. I really do. I think that works. I think it's a great, ingenious way to present content if the shows are built that way. Simple as that. All right, so like I said, my name's Ron. You can follow me on Twitter at Ron Freer or at Ron Makes Movies. Tune in next time when I review Kim Kardashian's sex tape.